Macroscope, a simple game of guessing the hidden image. It is a game for families. It plays 6 years and old according to the box. And I did pick it up at Gen Con 2017 in the hopes of playing it with my daughters, who are currently 5 and 7, so perfect age. And the 5-1, I've been training her into playing games. She was a toddler, so she can figure games out. The game comes with this holder, and then with this stack of very thin, double-sided, I would call them cards, but really are sheets of paper or glossy paper with images on them. And they're double-sided, so you're going to have a lot of images. And just to give you a sense of what's there. And maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I already gave you a spoiler there. I don't know. That's not really like a legacy game. It's not that kind of spoiler. Then you have this top here, which is placed on the holder, and it has holes in it. And each hole is covered at the beginning of the game with a token which is numbered with numbers between 1 and 6. When it is your turn, you roll 2 dice. And then you can use the results to lift tokens that have the corresponding number. So, for example, 1 and 2. Actually, you know what? Since I'm showing it to you, what you do when you start the game, of course, you saw the image there, which was an iPhone. What you do when you start the game is to take that image out, and now after you cover all the holes, and now we have an image that no one knows. So I decided to lift this one here and this to here, and that's what I have. That's the part of the image that we have. Can you tell what it is? I most certainly cannot. Once you roll the dice and you remove 1 or 2 of those tokens, you can choose to make a guess. If you do not make a guess, you take a crystal from the general supply for each token that you removed. In this case, I take 2 crystals. When you make a guess, you simply say, what do you think it is? If you got it right, you score a number of points, which is equal to the number of tokens that are still on the lid. If you guess wrong, you take a penalty equal to that number. So going early can pay off bigly. Oh my gosh, I said bigly. Or can result in a big penalty if you got it wrong. However, what is the use of the crystals? The crystals allow you to challenge other people's guesses or to guess in other people's turns. Basically, by spending 2 crystals, you can try to guess what the image is during someone else's turn. And the same thing apply. If you guessed right, you score those points. If you guess wrong, you lose those points. This is the standard version of the game. There is a family version, I guess, supposed to be nicer, simpler. The complexity is pretty much the same. It simply means that in the family edition, the family version of gameplay, you do not roll dice. Each turn, each player simply removes 1 of the tokens. Everybody can try to guess every turn, doing everybody else's turn. And if multiple players want to guess in the same turn, then they write down the answer, and then you simply look at the answer and you see who got it right, who got it wrong, and you score points. It's pretty much the same game without the dice. So what do you think? What do you think that thing is? Let's try some more. So you can play along. We have a 5 and a 2. Now 5 I can choose either of these, but 2, if I want to remove the 2, I only have 1 left, which is that one. And it tells me a whole lot of nothing. And say I decide to do this one. Oh, still not a lot of information, eh? We have a 2 and a 4. Now 2 we have to remove. Do we still have 2s actually? No, we don't have any 2s anymore, so nothing that we can do. With a 4, we can remove either of these. Oh, excellent. Well, it tells us more about what the thing isn't and what is not doing, what parts of the sheet of paper is not, than really what it is. Can you tell what it is? 1 and 2. Well, maybe now a little bit more. And what we have here, let's just look at the solution. Unless you don't want any spoilers, pause Pause the video and feel free to keep looking and try to guess, but I'm going to remove this in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. That was the secret image. Well, what is the next one? So it's already partially uncovered. Maybe you can get a sense of that one is. 3, 2, 1. It was an old school chair. This one is a little easier. This one is easier. As you can see, there is a lot of randomness in how hard or easy the thing is, or how hard it is based on the tokens that get removed. Going early on can be great. If you're super lucky, sometimes by removing 2 tokens, it's absolutely obvious what it is, and then that player gets to score a ton of points. Other times, as you can see, there are a lot, as you saw, there are a lot of blank spaces, and then the players that go early have a much harder time. So, it's not a bad game, but it's an okay game. And I'm talking about an okay game in general terms, not as like, well, I want to play with my hardcore friends and it was too simple. I'm talking about also as a family game. As a game night game to play with my adult friends, I don't know. It would need to be something really casual. Again, I think more like if it's an event, I play with the neighbors that never play board games. And then rather than playing nothing, maybe we play this one. With children, there is the problem that there's a lot of randomness, which doesn't always pay off. I mean, did you figure out that that was it? A lot of randomness. For example, it may simply be that if I'm playing with my 6-year-old daughter, she doesn't know what this is. I mean, I could show her the image and she wouldn't know what that is. Some things also are not exactly realistic pictures, or more symbolic pictures, and then it takes a while to make that shift. Other of those images can be very specialized. I really don't think that my 5 or 7-year-old have any idea what that thing is. This one, yes, but there's going to be a lot of white spaces. Some also images are... Really? Is my 7-year-old daughter supposed to know what that is? And maybe she does. Maybe she has watched Sex and the City at night, so when I think she's asleep. What do I know what they do late at night? I don't think she does know what that is. Some are also sort of like culturally determined. This one, oh well, yeah, my daughters don't know what that is. But, for example, maybe other kids that do not have video games don't. Some are culturally determined, meaning that the style in which things are drawn, is not quote-unquote realistic. Is, you know it if you have heard about the thing, if you know that thing, you know if you know the culture behind that thing. This one, for example. But what I had in mind, there's a picture of like 2 masks, you know, one is laughing, one is sad, so that the ancient Greek theater masks. I can't find them now, but they're somewhere there. Oh, of course, because there's that a big stack and maybe they're here. So it's a whole lot of randomness in what you get. And you may say, well, that affects everybody equally. Not necessarily, because some people may know what that thing is and some don't. If you're playing it as a family game, and that is, this one, for example, if I look at the images took me a while. I didn't know what that was. Sometimes the abstract drawing is not that easy to read. So, I think that there was potential in the idea. I don't dislike the idea in general, but then practically, actually, when playing the game, it didn't turn out to be all that interesting or fun. My daughters played it once, politely. Politely, didn't ask to play it again. I asked my 5-year-old daughter if she wanted to play again, and she equally politely but firmly declined. And because of the randomness, you're playing the version with the dice, then it can entirely happen that is the child's turn and the child doesn't get to do anything. The child rolled 2 copies of the same number that didn't come out. Yes, the child gets 2 crystals, but actually, no, the child doesn't get 2 crystals because you get crystals only if you remove the thing. So the child effectively skips a turn. So it's an okay game. It's a so-and-so game. It's pretty unimpressive. It's not something that I would play with my adult friends. It's something that my daughters have not enjoyed all that much. There are just so many other interesting games out there for children when it comes to guessing that this one just doesn't stand out for anything but for the very good looking but ultimately a little gimmicky tray here. I mean, this is a fun, this sort of a steampunky piece is fun, but of course if it's not part of a game that is compelling, then it ends up being a toy rather than an effective game component. It's an okay game, but not, again, okay minus, a so-and-so game, one that I don't see myself or my family playing very often in the future, you know, if ever.